Ladies and gentlemen, you may not see it, but heaven is moving on your behalf. Every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer, they are not signs of abandonment. They are the fingerprints of divine orchestration. When it feels like nothing is happening, God is doing His greatest work behind the curtain of your waiting. When God delays something in your life, it isn't punishment. It's preparation. The waiting season often feels like silence, like being trapped between what was promised and what hasn't yet come to pass. But what you must understand is that God uses waiting as His workshop. It is in the stillness, in the quiet stretches of uncertainty, that He begins to shape your spirit and refine your faith. You may think nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, roots are being formed. The deeper the roots, the stronger the foundation for what's coming. There are blessings so great that if they arrived too early, they would crush you. So, God delays not because He doesn't want to give them, but because He loves you too much to let you receive them unprepared. He is strengthening your patience, your humility, and your endurance. He's aligning circumstances, people, and even timing itself to make sure that when your blessing comes, it stays. Waiting is never wasted in His kingdom. Every moment serves a purpose. Every delay carries a design. Think of the seed hidden underground. It appears buried, forgotten, and lifeless, yet it is in that dark soil that transformation begins. The seed must die to its old form before it can rise into something new. In the same way, your waiting season is not your burial. It's your planting. God is breaking old habits, pruning your pride, and deepening your roots, so that when your season to bloom arrives, no storm can uproot you. So don't despise the delay. What you call nothing happening is actually divine construction. Heaven is arranging what you cannot see. The promise still stands. It's just not time yet. Trust that when God finally opens the door, it will not only make sense, but also reveal why you had to wait. His preparation is your protection, and His delay is your greatest proof that He hasn't forgotten you. There are seasons when God feels silent, when your prayers seem to vanish into the void, and heaven gives no response. It's easy to mistake that silence for absence, to believe that God has turned away or stopped caring. But silence does not mean distance. In fact, His quietness often hides the most intricate work He's doing in your life. Just because you cannot hear Him doesn't mean He isn't speaking. Sometimes His silence is His language of trust. He's teaching you to rely on what you already know of Him rather than what you currently feel. When God is silent, He is often shaping the unseen. Think of an artist who steps back from the canvas. Not because the painting is finished, but because perspective is needed to perfect it. In the same way, God may seem distant, but He's creating something with precision and depth that requires your patience to see. He's arranging people, events, and opportunities in a way that your human eyes cannot yet perceive. You're meant to walk by faith, not by sight. And in His silence, that faith becomes real. Silence also exposes what you truly believe. It reveals whether your trust is in God's voice or His nature. When you no longer hear Him, but still choose to trust Him, that's where spiritual maturity is born. He wants your faith to grow beyond emotions and into conviction. The quiet seasons stretch your spirit, forcing you to lean on promises instead of feelings. Even when heaven feels still, know this: God is not idle. The silence is sacred space, a divine pause where your heart learns dependence and your character is strengthened. One day, the silence will break, and you'll realize He was never gone. The same God who seemed silent was the one holding everything together. His absence was only an illusion. His presence was closer than your breath, guiding you through every unseen step. There are moments in life when what you desire seems within reach, yet somehow God holds it back. You may feel ready, capable, and eager to step into what you've prayed for. But God knows something you don't, that the right thing given at the wrong time can still destroy you. Timing is not just about opportunity, it's about maturity. A blessing that arrives before you're ready can turn into a burden. God's love is so deep that He will withhold what you want until you can handle what it carries. Every promise has its appointed time. Just as fruit cannot ripen overnight, neither can your purpose. God's timing is not designed for your impatience, but for your protection. When He delays, it's not rejection, it's refinement. He's shaping your heart, building your endurance, and preparing you to sustain what He's about to release. Many people rush ahead of God and find themselves overwhelmed by what was meant to bless them. But those who wait discover that divine timing doesn't just give you the promise. It gives you the wisdom to keep it. Think of a door that refuses to open no matter how hard you push. You might see it as resistance, but in truth, it's mercy. God knows what's on the other side. He knows the hidden challenges, the unseen warfare, and the preparation you still need. If He allowed you to walk through that door too soon, it could break you. But when He finally opens it, everything will align. The resources, the strength, the clarity, and the peace. The beauty of God's timing is that it redeems delay. When the moment comes, it won't feel late, it will feel perfect. Every closed door, every postponed dream, every season of waiting will make sense. You'll see that His timing wasn't just about the event. It was about transforming you into the person capable of carrying it. Trust is not proven when everything is working according to plan. It is proven when everything seems to fall apart. Faith shines brightest in the darkness, not in the daylight of answered prayers. When you can't see the outcome, when the waiting stretches longer than you expected, and when all your efforts seem to fail, that is where true trust is formed. It's easy to say you believe when blessings are flowing, but real faith is revealed when you choose peace in the middle of uncertainty. God often allows waiting seasons not to test your patience, but to strengthen your trust. Every delay becomes a question. Will you still believe even when you can't see? He doesn't just want you to trust His plan. He wants you to trust His heart. You may not understand what He's doing, but you can be sure of who He is. The moments that feel like silence are actually invitations to deeper surrender. Instead of striving to control what you can't, He asks you to rest in the assurance that He already has it under control. When you stop fighting the process and start embracing the wait, something shifts inside you. Your focus moves from outcomes to obedience, from anxiety to alignment. The strength of faith is not measured by how quickly you receive, but by how calmly you can wait. Trust is built when you stand firm despite the lack of evidence, when you refuse to let doubt rewrite what God has already promised. there's a quiet victory in choosing faith over fear. Every time you decide to remain patient, heaven takes notice. Your endurance in the waiting is not wasted. It's worship. It tells God that you trust His wisdom more than your own understanding. And when the breakthrough finally arrives, it won't just reward your patience. It will reveal the depth of your trust, proving that the waiting season wasn't a delay, but a divine classroom for your faith. God's work in your life is never random. It is layered with purpose, detail, and divine precision. You see moments, single, confusing fragments of your story. But God sees the entire masterpiece being formed. Each joy, each heartbreak, each closed door and sudden breakthrough is a brushstroke in His perfect design. Often, what seems meaningless in one season becomes the missing piece that brings clarity in another. You may not understand the why now, but there will come a day when every piece fits together, revealing that nothing was wasted. We tend to view life as a straight line, expecting progress to move forward without interruption. But God works in layers, not lines. He builds upon every experience, every delay, every disappointment to create something greater than what you imagined. The pain you endured, the lessons you learned, and even the things you lost are all part of His hidden architecture. What felt like destruction was actually construction. He was laying a foundation beneath the surface for something eternal. Sometimes God will strip away what you thought you needed to reveal what truly matters. You may have cried over what left, but what left was never meant to carry you into your next level. His layering process is about transformation, not comfort. Each layer adds depth, resilience, and wisdom to your spirit. What once felt like confusion will later be recognized as careful coordination. So when life feels tangled and unclear, trust that there's a pattern being woven beneath the chaos. The same God who ordered the stars and commands the oceans is ordering your steps with equal precision. One day you'll look back and realize that every season, even the painful ones, was necessary. Every hidden layer served a divine purpose. And in that realization, you'll see that God was not just working on your situation. He was working on you, crafting a life that reflects His glory in ways you couldn't have imagined. There comes a point in your walk with God when you realize that trying to control everything only leaves you weary. You plan, you push, you strive, yet nothing seems to move as fast as you want. That's because divine timing cannot be forced, it can only be trusted. When you surrender the clock to God, you step into a peace that no schedule or plan could ever give. You begin to understand that waiting isn't punishment. It's protection. It's not a delay of destiny, but an alignment with heaven's calendar. Peace is not found when everything goes your way. It's found when you trust that God's way is better. The moment you stop wrestling with timing and start resting in trust, the pressure lifts. You no longer carry the anxiety of when or how, because you've given that burden to the one who sees the end from the beginning. Surrender doesn't mean giving up your dreams. It means handing them back to the one who gave them to you, knowing He will fulfill them in the right season. God's timing carries divine precision. What feels late to you is right on time in His plan. He's not just preparing the blessing. He's preparing you to handle it. When you stop trying to force doors open, You give him room to open the right ones effortlessly. The peace that comes from surrendering to his timing is not passive, it's powerful. It says, I don't need to see everything to trust that everything is working for my good. When you finally release control, you make space for grace. You discover that God was never late. He was waiting for your heart to be still enough to receive what he had already prepared. In that stillness, peace flows like a river, reminding you that his timing isn't just perfect. It's purposeful, patient, and always wrapped in love. So as you stand in the waiting, remember this: God's hands are never idle, and his timing is never wrong. What he began, he will finish. Rest in the assurance that every second of delay is shaping a destiny far greater than what you could imagine. Trust his timing, and you'll see that he's been working all along, perfectly, faithfully, and right on time.